But it is my privilege to make one last introduction to you, and that is Mrs. Jeanne Mackay, who is here also with her fantastic husband and partner in service, Jay. And the reason why Jeanne gets a special introduction is because very recently Jeanne retired from serving as president of our Kansas State Federation. Jeanne and Jay actually first got involved with Lutherans for Life almost at the very beginning. So Lutherans for Life, this year we will celebrate our 44th birthday, incorporated in the fall of 1978. Jeanne and Jay became active in Missouri, where they were living at that time, in chartering Lutherans for Life's 4th chapter. Now you heard Virginia tell us that we have over 95 chapters today. In the history of Lutherans for Life, we've actually chartered over 130. Some of those have discontinued, but many of them are in existence still today. So to be 4th out of 130 plus just tells you how long Jeanne and Jay have been involved with Lutherans for Life. They were also involved in helping organize the State Federation of Missouri, and then moved to Kansas, where they helped organize the State Federation of Kansas. I had the privilege several years back actually to travel across the state of Kansas. Jeanne, I hope you remember that we spent almost a week together in the cab of a vehicle traveling across the state, making some wonderful stops and swapping fantastic stories of service to the church. Lutherans for Life, of course, not only in Kansas and Missouri, but across the country, owes a great debt of gratitude to Jeanne and the generation that she represents, the first generation of gospel-motivated voices for life. And I just think that it is fitting that this year, when Jeanne is retiring, that we get to celebrate one of the goals of the pro-life movement from the very beginning, which was national and federal governmental recognition that the Roe v. Wade decision was unjust. And what inspiration it is to us that from the very beginning, Jeanne and people like her believed that Roe v. Wade was not the last word about the sanctity of life. And they devoted themselves for many, many years to organizing and educating and advocating for that decision to be reversed, for the framework and the worldview that it represented to be resisted, and most importantly, Jeanne, through the Missouri and Kansas State Federations, through the National Organization of Lutherans for Life, along with her generation, passed on the convictions about the God-given sanctity of life to the next generation, who then was able to stand on their shoulders and bring us to the point where we are today. So it is with great gratitude that Lutherans for Life recognizes and gives thanks to Jeanne Mackay and to Jay for their many years of service. There are a couple other people who would like to make some remarks in Jeanne's honor before I ask her to come up and share some of her reflections herself. But Virginia? Does Virginia want to share any words?
Yes, I would if I could.
Just a moment, let me
Hang on a second.
bring the microphone to you so we can all hear. Okay, Virginia.
Yeah, let me just say that since I have come to Lutherans for Life, I've had the opportunity of working with Jeanne since I represented Minnesota, she represented Kansas. I would say that her dedication to the work that she did in her states that she served has been so great that we now can have a situation where someone that's been doing it for so many years can actually step aside. And that federation is stronger now than it ever was. People have stepped in, and so the legacy will go on. Jeanne, I know you're concerned about that, but I think it's great to know that Jeanne is still going to be working with her life chapter in the town that she lives in. So we're not done with Jeanne yet. Her work goes on. But that dedication is really admirable, and I appreciate even within just the last few months of getting to know her better than I did all these years. So thank you, Jeanne, and congratulations.
And some of you will remember that Kansas, in terms of the sanctity of life, for a long time in the 80s and the 90s, and even that legacy still lives on today, was a state that was known as a destination for late-term abortions. And there was a particularly egregious clinic in Wichita that I think has closed down that performed those up until the moment of birth abortions. And so it has been a battle state, and in just a couple of days, actually, the voters of Kansas will be considering a ballot initiative to add an amendment to their constitution recognizing the right to life. They have been thwarted at every turn by legislators, now by the state Supreme Court, but the Kansans do not give up. And I always tell folks, Kansas is a lot like the state of Illinois in that everybody I've ever met from Kansas or from Illinois is very staunchly in support of the sanctity of life. And yet, somehow they are betrayed by their elected representatives, and so their states continue to serve as havens for abortion. But we're hopeful now, the last poll I read just this morning showed that those in favor of the amendment have a very narrow lead, so we give thanks to God for that.
I just wanted to say a few words. Jeanne has been my mentor for all these years. She's the one that sucked me in. And in Missouri, that's what happened. She started, everywhere she moved, she started a new chapter. She started a new chapter everywhere she moved. And everywhere she moved, she sucked more people in to help her out. And that's kind of the way we felt, because we had no choice in the matter. Once we met Jeanne, we had to help. And so I just thank her so much. You'll see she started the 4th chapter, but she started I don't know how many other chapters, and she's still going. So she's been an amazing mentor to me and to many people in Missouri and now Kansas. And so I just say congratulations, Jeanne, and thanks for keeping on and doing what you're doing. Blessings.
And so it is my great privilege, serving as executive director at this time and place, to invite Jeanne Mackay to come forward as we recognize and thank her for her many, many years of service to Lutherans for Life. We have a couple small tokens of our appreciation as an organization.
Always smell the flowers first.
Well, since we are in a garden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Big bag and it feels heavy. Oh, wow. Yes. Shannon?
So this is a print that we had commissioned specifically for Lutherans for Life that can now hang as a reminder of the faithful service that you have provided not only to our neighbors in need, but to our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ and the future of the church.
Thank you so much. Where's South Dakota? Isn't this a girl that painted this way back in the early days?
South Dakota or North Dakota?
Shannon or something.
Winnetka?
Yeah,
Yes.
Winnetka.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Before I formed you in the womb. Isn't that great? Some of you hadn't seen this before. I think it's still around.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you so much. This is great. Anything else in here? That's what my kids would say. And grandchildren and a couple greats too. Oh boy. Never thought I'd do this. I thought I was going to kind of just die with the Lutherans for Life as a president all over the country. But it was time for me. I want to introduce my husband, Jay Mackay. He's back over there in the corner. Not that I didn't put him in the corner, okay? Well, let's see. You've been given a little flyer there about me and my husband. That's important. But everybody's talking about the dates they were married or whatever. Well, Actually, we are having our 50th in December this year, December 31st. What do you think about that, when you get married in a really snowy day in Minnesota during your wedding, and everybody leaves before because the blizzard was going on? The only people that stayed on to eat our food was the music people. And also, it was kind of cute because the photography person was a guy that was with Lutheran Youth Encounter, and he couldn't do it that weekend, so he sent his brother, and he didn't know much about photography. So we had to trust him to do our pictures. So right after, as usual, we went ahead and didn't go down to eat first. We went to get our photos taken, and he took the longest time. And the blizzard was raging on, and all of a sudden we got downstairs and we realized that only the ladies in the kitchen, some of our dear friends, and the others were on the road to go home. So that was December 31st, 1972. Okay, so you said 82? Well, this was 72. What a journey we've had across Missouri and Kansas. We've been in Kansas now for a long time, but we did travel around a while. We were entrepreneurs, and so my husband and I had to make our own types of survival every time we moved. So those are long stories, and everything for us is a story. And it's kind of fun if people want to hear them, but we don't pretend to do that at all for anybody here. But anyway, what can I say? When you start with an organization like Lutherans for Life, before I was involved with Lutheran Youth Encounter, if some of you are old enough to know about that organization. So I was always in the kind of church work. I went to Lutheran Bible Institute in Minneapolis. There were 4 in the whole country. I lived in Minnesota, of course, grew up there. So I went to the Lutheran Bible Institute for 2 years, got a certificate for parish work, started out in a church. Then Lutheran Youth Encounter said, hey, we want you to come with our board and our organization, and we want you to, show your skills and your talents. And so I did some singing work. I did some of the teams that we had sent out all over the country. They were college kids, and then they would go to pastors who invited them into their churches to do things for the youth on a weekend. That was a fun journey. I really enjoyed that, driving all over. My dad even helped me buy a brand new car, which had a Plymouth that was in Albert Lee. I had a little Plymouth 4 on the floor, 4-cylinder. And then when I moved to Minneapolis to do the LYE, guess what? It was bigger cars all over. It was faster cars, and here was my little white Plymouth. I even laughed at myself trying to get between the cars to get to my work. So he said, well, I'll pay your down payment for a new car. So we went to little St. James, Minnesota, and what did we do? We looked at the one right in the big area where they showcase it in those days, showcased the one car that they had there. And I loved that car because it was olive green. And it was not a Buick, but what was it, Jay? What was the name of that one? Oldsmobile, yeah. And so I thought I was pretty cool. Went up to Minneapolis, and that car really did it. That was good. I loved that. Kept that car for a long time. So there's a little bit of a fun history for you with your journeys. You all have journeys. I know you got your memories. And it was just a wonderful time to raise kids. We had 6 kids. We had 2 foster kids for about 7 or 8 years. At the time, they didn't have an adoption rule, so that we couldn't have them as adopting them because the mother wouldn't give up her rights. So there you go, adoption today. Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful talk that we got on that. I learned a lot from being a foster mother, and so did my husband. So anyway, the other kids were 4 kids. When the foster kids came to us, my first natural child was only 9 months old when the 2 foster kids came into our house. Baby, 9 and 10-year-old. And they were from urban Kansas City. Didn't have much of a family home. The mother had already divorced, and she had had 6 kids too, but she was most concerned about her 3 smallest children, which were 4 years old, 9 years old, and 10 years old. And she didn't have any food in the old empty house that she found to sit in with her kids. It was December, 1st of December, and she went to this vacant house with no door in the wintertime, beginning of December. And she was sitting, my husband went over, she went, and a friend, because he was working for the social service agency at the time, they wanted to see what kind of condition she was in, because she was asking both of us to get her 3 kids off her hands, because she didn't know what else to do. I don't think she really knew how to really be a mother. So they were sitting there, and they had a can of beans, as my husband told me, to eat out of that can, just in a corner. There was one little bunk bed there, and when we decided, yeah, I guess we could take those older kids, and the younger child could be helped by our friend who was with the social service to get, kind of the goal was to get the mother to be a mother again. So one wonderful social service lady, she really helped try to get her on her feet. And she did try to get her GED. We went over to her little apartment, they got her, but she had to work too. So, there's my husband, he wants to say something. Anyway, that's the journey on that. And so after a couple of years, they wanted to call us Mom and Dad because she wouldn't give up the rights. Anyway, that was kind of a fun journey. Yes, you want to say something, don't you?
I just want to thank all of you here too for recognizing Jeanne. She's been a very humble person. And now as we get older, we reflect more on ourselves. But she's always been so good in the background, not in the forefront. She always gives credit to someone else. But starting out with Lutherans for Life and Jeanne Garden has been quite an experience in all of our lives. So I can just tell you of the countless space that we have allocated for Lutherans for Life brochures, and the hours that I don't see my wife when I go to bed because she's still at 2 o'clock upstairs typing out letters and doing all of that, as so many of you are. I think those that are spouses see this, and those type of things don't get recognized. But for Jeanne, it's been marvelous watching her. I can remember saying in the early days of Lutherans for Life that we would never really see in our lifetime Roe v. Wade overturned. I was the pessimist, Jeanne was the optimist. So it's great to have that completed and returned. So anyway, just really thank Jeanne as her husband and all of you for taking the time to honor her. It's been a great privilege.
Thank you guys so much also for making the trip to be with us.
I just want to say, my husband's not here with me today, but he just happened to go to high school. You're here at St. James. I'm sure my father-in-law bought many Oldsmobiles from that dealership. And my husband and Jeanne were in band together, right? Jeanne, weren't you in band with Jim?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, St. James, Minnesota.
Wonderful the way that God weaves us together from the very beginning all the way now. And as a foreshadowing, of course, of our heavenly marriage supper when we will gather together with all of God's children, including all the people in this room and all of the families whose lives Jeanne and people like her have touched. Today you receive heaven's applause as well, Jeanne, and a recognition from your Lord and Savior who says, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
I just have to thank anybody who's in Lutherans for Life to do this kind of work, Sharon. It's just wonderful when you see some fulfillment or some success, and I think God plans those things. And I think no matter how new or old in the organization, God is there with us all the time to make
Absolutely.
that we do the right thing.
That's what makes it a delight, is that we work together and we work for the Lord.